Hello and welcome to another demonstration. If you're in the Facebook Premiere, I'll be in the chat so I can say hi or answer any questions you may have about this reintroduced product. So the Cuttleola Dots pen proved to be very popular and the supplier has recreated it, I suppose. It's been enhanced so the battery life is longer and the refilling is much easier than the previous one. So you literally click out, it has a magnet on the end, click back in and put that back on, which is a different mechanism to the previous Dots pen. It also has a new aluminium coating and it's slightly different shape, but on the whole it still works like the Dots pen, just with a few cleaner features, I suppose. Dots pen, if you're not familiar with, is a really exciting and interesting pen. The ink is waterproof once it's cured and dried, but what it does is it's an electric pen. You see, I've pressed once and it's allowing the nib to move up and down, very much like a tattoo pen, I suppose. But this means you can create dots really quickly and easily. Slow your hand down and fill in areas. If you hold it on its side, you get a different shape, look much lighter, and a few skips and tails. But holding it upright is when you get your dots. You do find that you need a hard surface for it to bounce back on. So that is slow mode or the first mode, and I press the button once. So off once, press the button once. All right, while it's in this mode, and if I press it twice, it goes into fast mode. This is the mode I use most of the time, and it's really just a much quicker way of creating dots. See, I'm moving quite quickly and it's creating lines. If I move much more slowly and have it upright, I can create dots. And you don't have to hold it awkwardly. I always tell people to hold it like you would do a normal pen, then just slightly angle your hand upright to get the dot. Look at that. That's a lot of fun. So double click, one click. This should be fully charged using the USB cable which comes with it, and it lights up blue while it's charging and it goes off while it's not charged, and I should get about 40 to 50 minutes. I actually did the whole demonstration I'm going to do with one charge, but I do have this plugged in just in case, so you can use it plugged in, which means you can go for much longer before you have to charge the pen. So I'm going to see how far I can get, and hopefully I can get the whole drawing done with one charge. So first mode and second mode. I like the second mode. For me, it just works better. So I'm going to do, so you can see, I don't know if you can see, but the paper's not pushed down enough on the surface, so I'm going to have to hold it down because it tends to flap about a little bit, which means you don't get as clean a line. Now the great thing, I've chosen this building which is local to me and I've recently been in. It is actually a really beautiful little building. 15th century, so it's a Tudor wattle and daub timber frame building, which is one of, I think, 3 buildings which were in the surrounding area which have been restored. That's the word I was looking for. And so you can see how quickly I am building up the detail, and if I don't want it as strong, I will quickly skip over. I'll go back in because I want it a lot darker underneath there. I do find that getting the toner value is really quite quick and easy. It's not as difficult as you may think because you tend to not overwork an area. So I want that dark because that's under the eaves there. Just keep going back over. And this isn't quite as dark. Again, working in areas and building up the value. So it needs to be dark because it is under the eaves on this side. This side apparently has jetting. So with these buildings, you would find the upper layer overhung the lower layer. And this was for a number of reasons. One reason is to save space, especially on a street. So the streets tended to get a lot of buildings built on them, and in order to be able to walk through the street, they would build the bottom of the house quite small, and each subsequent layer would get wider and would overhang the bottom layer, called jetting. Now on this building it's actually on the other side, you can't see it from this angle. So the upper building comes out here. Beautiful place to have a tea and cake. So it was the bakehouse originally. It has been used as the bakehouse, so you would bake the cakes and the bread for the shop which was next door to it. And it's still being used for a similar thing as a tea rooms. It's lovely upstairs with beautiful beams, and the whole house has these beams through. It was originally down an alley, so this is Ash's courtyard, but that was rebuilt and with modernisation has all gone and opened up. But just here is the Queen's Head, again another timber frame building, been a pub for many years. Lovely thing about this as well is nothing's straight, so I don't have to overly worry about very straight lines because none of this timber is straight. It's also not, I noticed it's not in the same, so here you get a timber that goes there, and the one above it is slightly offset. It's not in the same place, so it's a really interesting thing to draw. Look how quickly I'm building up the dark beams, and it finishes in a very interesting effect. Now, I can use this pen for quite a long time, and it's not overly heavy, and I don't find the vibrations are uncomfortable. It's actually quite relaxing, to be fair. I tend to find it very relaxing. Just do a dark beam there. At the moment, the inks are just in black. I know the previous pen did have colours, but those inks have been redeveloped and they won't fit in this pen. So the manufacturer has just made the black, which was the most popular colour. And the whole idea behind the Dots pen originally was this black and white dot effect. Look at this. This is fun. This beam is nowhere near straight. Oh, I've got a little one there as well. And you can see the tonal values I'm getting already, how I can make these beams much darker and more solid compared to this beam here, which is on the edge, so therefore it's probably picking up a little bit more light. Very quickly getting quite an effect. There you go. And I will go back possibly and re-darken. Just depends how the rest of it works. So again, no beam is straight. This is a lovely arch beam. I did know what they were called. I've just forgotten, to be fair. So it's got the original beams. And you know, when you see the white and the black, that actually wasn't how they originally were. The beams would have been covered with tar, but it didn't make them very black. I think it was the Victorians that really enhanced the blackness of the beams, from what I have read. Right, let's get this lovely, let's make that really a little bit wonky. There we go. Lovely Tudor beams. And like I say, you can't see the jetting on this side. It's only on this side, and it comes out like that. Oh, there's another little beam there. Higgledy-piggledy beams. Put these in. So let's put the window box in. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter, just so it stands out. And then some vegetation. Look how easy vegetation is. And I'll do some over here, and you'll see how quickly and effectively it builds up. So let me just put a stronger base on that. It works. Fill in this dark. You also don't have to worry about total precision of line because it's dots. So I quite like that fuzzy effect. Like, this is not an original window. It probably would have been adapted when it became a tea rooms. Oops, that's not very straight. Never mind. I'm just going to darken that off because I now want to darken the inside of the windows, but not solid. And if I'm careful enough, I am able to go around where the frame is. Don't know if you can see, but I'm able to bring the frame out, window frames for these little windows. Just darken that there. Let's do the sign. Can't see what was on that plaque. Oh, it says the Old Bakery, that's what it says. I do know that my partner's great-grandfather was a baker, and he had the ovens, which meant at Christmas everybody would bring turkeys or goose or duck, and they would bake them in the ovens because they had the big oven space. And then everybody would pick up their Christmas dinner cooked from the bakery ovens. There we go. Right, so this is again an older edition, slightly curved. Let's see if I can achieve this. I'm keeping it in this fast mode. That for me, this is the mode that works best. Oops, slightly wonky there. Right, let's make that dark. This is brick here. Board, there's black board there, and a little board here. I don't need to put in all the features, but I think it just adds interest, and it helps when I'm trying to create different tonal values if I have areas which look different. Right, under here is going to be darker. Let's see if I can get the roundness of this bay window. Oops. And again, like I did in that one, I'm going to try and just fill in the window so it will be reflecting some light, but it's actually got really nice cakes in the window, so don't need to do them all. But can you see how I can alter and I can bring back the frame by just not putting the pen in that area? And these ones are going to be darker. Actually, they might not be fully dark because I think there's a light. It's difficult to explain because a lot of it is instinct. You see where the pen has made the mark. I can always go back to it and just move my hand in a very skippy kind of motion. You can use it very smooth and very slowly controlled, but for me, this is how this works. That looks kind of like a window. Let's colour this in black. And I've actually kept the table and chairs outside because I quite liked the idea of it still being used. That's having the cakes and the food inside, which is what it has been used for in the past. It's just moved into the times and has metal chairs and a plastic table. It's just nice old, new. Right, let's just finish that. And actually, I think there's another board here. So let's just make that more solid, just to give a little bit more definition. I'm going to make that quite dark. Is there anything there? No, I think there's a beam. I think I'm missing this dark beam across here. Again, not straight. While I'm at this, I'm going to just put a bit of foliage. How easy and quick this is. There is actually another building here, but it's a flat brick wall. It didn't work. Oh, so a bit of artistic license. Just using a circular motion. A bit darker at the bottom. Some of his shapes. Add some bit of detail in here. So it's not so flat. Bit of interest. Could do with a bit more dark here, so I'll slow my movements down. Let's do some bricks. And I'm not doing every single brick. I'm just suggesting bricks. While I'm at it, I'm going to see how I can get some detail, finer detail on these chairs. So these are silver or aluminium chairs. With backs. Let's make this quite solid because it's a solid table. I do have to be careful that I don't lean on it because it still can smudge because it's a bit wet. But once it's dry, it is waterproof and I can use with colour. How solid that is now. Give it something to stand on. Okay, so let's continue with this brick. I'm not leaving it white, I'm going to give it a bit of depth. Might have lost this by doing that, so see if I can bring it back. A lot of this is a suggestion. Oops. A lot of this is a suggestion. Because there is another chair here. I can't get overly fine detail, but I think it's suggesting enough. So this is a nice big beam. Right on the corner. So, pen's still going. Like I say, I tend to use this kind of circular motion to fill in the areas. And sometimes I'll fill them in to a certain point, move on and come back. This is a lovely beam, look at that. Big there. So nice not to worry about straight lines. That's less pressure. So there's actually a hanging basket here, so I'm going to do that now. Curved. So see how I can keep going over that area. I want to get that quite dark, just so it stands out against a black metal, is that, what do you call that, hanging basket, against the black beam doesn't stand out. So I'm just possibly not making the beam as dark as I can in that area. Under here it wants to be really dark now. Hopefully you can see the effect already. So this is something I would do as well. I'd go over, fill in an area just to get it down, and then I can start to work back into it. I find that helps with getting tonal values and not filling it in too quickly or too much in one area. Tend to also drop my pen into that kind of angle. You may find it switches off if you're holding it not upright enough. Go, that beam pretty much finished, so let's put the door on. Actually that's black here as well, so let me put this, how quickly I can put in the line. Let's see if I can go around chairs just so that they stand out. So let's try and do it kind of cross-hatching rather than the circular motion. Might add a different texture. Now the door's quite light, which is great. I think there's brick there. This is brick as well. So, window, let's darken that. And it's a door, it's a light door, so I'm just going to skip over that. Just so it's not flat white, because this is white. I want to show that it is different. Not too much. There's a big black beam there. So how long have we had? About half an hour, and the pen is still working fine. There's a beam. Let me just go around the outline so I can plot out which beams, because I might have lost my beams. Doesn't matter, I can bring them back. Is that a beam there? I don't know. Right, so you'll notice I've completely gone off the line. That's because I kind of lost where I was going. That doesn't matter. I think you get the idea. So I'll put another beam in there. Probably a bit close. Right, I need to strengthen that now because it's got a little lost. Yeah, these beams have got a bit close together. Never mind. We have extra structure. Up and down. Fill it in quickly and then make it a little darker. This is dark here, so it's a beam. Let's touch the other beams, and like I say, bricks along here. So let's just go back in there and darken where it's on the ground. Bit of shading, so hopefully that looks different to the beams. Need to make these darker. I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I'd rather fill it all in and then go back. That's something probably because I'm impatient, but I find it does help to identify areas that may need darkening. Right, roof. I think there's So it looks like it's got pan tiles. So let's just, oops, that's not straight. And it doesn't really matter because I'm just putting a suggestion before I fill it in. Darken the top. It's quite difficult to get a straight line at this angle, but like I say, it's not going to be a complete representation. I just want to show you what the pen can do quite quickly. Okay, I think that's making a suggestion. So let's start to just do a final darken in some of these areas. So under here is dark. Here's another layer. Push it down. And this is actually quite nice because you do find this darkening is quite effective. And you can bring back areas you may have lost. So just want a few bit of shadow here, so it's not quite as flat. And again here, strengthen that window. This beam needs strengthening. This is right on the edge, so it's probably a really supporting one. So it needs to be much broader. Right. Let me make this side in shadow a bit more. And what I'm doing is just shading, making this not quite as flat white. There will be some areas of flat white, but I think this adds interest, and again I think I need a little bit more on the roof. So you can rework and go back into areas. Once you put a layer on, back and forth. Right, I'm just going to, don't think I'm going to get any of these straight. Put some cobble, they're not cobbles, sorry, flagstones down. And again, none of these are even, which is great. Means I can have a bit of leeway. Some are smaller. It just grounds the chairs, they're not them floating on nothing. So now I'll fill that in a bit less flat. I don't think I finished this chair, did I? Down. I think on the whole that's pretty good. And again, the pen's still working. Just clean up some lines and then I could call it finished for now. Just pushing the paper down. Back and forth, you can see how that really brings out some of the areas you may have lost. Again, around there. Have to be careful not to overdo it. That needs to finish there. I've just it. Okay. I want that door to be less white. I want it different to the wall. Right, so when it was fast, let's get it fast again. You double click. It goes to snow mode, one click, and it's off. So that pen lasted that whole drawing. I'm looking at it again and I can still see areas I'd like to work on. I hope you enjoyed that and you got an idea of what the dot pen does. The new dots pen, so the new aluminium casing, slightly different shape, and the battery life is longer. And join me again soon for another demonstration.